The name human made them laugh. Every time the alien generals in the high command of the Velari Empire spoke it, they smiled with sharp teeth and cold eyes. Who, man? General Chris would grin. Sounds like a soft fruit. But in the dark, quiet corners of the galaxy whispers traveled. Whispers of Earth, of the fire that once burned in human cities, and the louder fire that burned in their hearts. The Velari Empire had never fought humans directly. Not yet. Instead, they conquered colonies, stations, trade routes. They believed they were too strong, too advanced, and humans? They were too new, too fragile, too small, but they were wrong. It began on a lonely moon. A mining colony called Juno-7. Inside the cold steel halls of the mine, a young Korean engineer named Daehyun worked every day in silence. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't important. He just repaired drills and read old books from Earth during lunch breaks that no one on Juno-7 expected trouble. The colony wasn't even rich in resources. It was quiet, peaceful. Human families lived there. Children played under the artificial sun. Life was normal. Until the Velari ships came, massive, silent, black like deep ocean shadows. They entered orbit without a word and then opened fire. Lasers tore through buildings. Explosions shattered the sky dome. Screams echoed through the tunnels. Daehyun ran, but not away. He ran into the fire, pulling children into shelters, helping the injured. His shirt was burned. His face was cut, but his hands never stopped moving. He wasn't a soldier, but he refused to die hiding. From a small comms tower, he sent a message to Earth short, broken, desperate. This is Daehyun of Juno-7. Velari, attacking civilians. Please, someone respond. But Earth did not reply. Not at first. At the same time, on a faraway Earth outpost, a young female officer named Ha-eun sat in a military satellite center. She had dark, tired eyes and a habit of drinking too much coffee. Most days were boring. Watching space traffic, reading reports. Nothing ever really happened. But then she saw the signal. Faint, weak, but real. She listened once, then again. Then, again. Her hands shook as she grabbed the emergency phone. Commander, she whispered, you need to hear this. Soon, Earth knew. The military knew. The people knew, and they remembered. They remembered the last war Earth had fought, a war that nearly burned the planet. They remembered rebuilding, promising peace, hoping to never fight again. But now, the stars had sent them a challenge. Warning. And Earth never ignored a warning. Daehyun, covered in ash, sat near the burning wreckage of the school building. He thought he would die there. He looked up at the Velari flag, planted in the ground, sharp, silver, and cruel. The aliens laughed as they walked through the ruins. Where are your heroes? They mocked. Where are your warriors? Hiding behind children? Daehyun looked at his hands. Burnt, bleeding, shaking. He thought of his sister back on Earth, her smile, her silly way of singing in the kitchen. He thought of the Earth sky, blue and endless. He didn't have a weapon, but he had his mind. He pulled open an old toolbox, found a welding torch, a small engine, a broken fuel cell. If he couldn't fight like a soldier, he would fight like an engineer. Days passed. Then, the stars screamed. Earth sent no words, no warnings, no diplomats. Only ships. Hundreds of them, sleek, quiet, cold like steel. And behind them cargo freighters, landing pods, drop units. No grand flags, no long speeches, just movement. The Velari sensors picked up the fleet approaching. They laughed again. Humans are trying to scare us, said one general. Let them come. But Earth didn't want to scare them. They came to end it, On the bridge of the lead human ship, Commander Sujin, a quiet woman with sharp eyes and gray-streaked hair, gave a single nod. Her voice was calm. Barrage formation. Begin. And then the sky cracked. Thousands of missiles lit the stars like fireflies. Silent, fast, angry. VLAR, eye stations vanished in light. Ground towers exploded like sandcastles. Enemy fighters tried to rise only to be swept away by sonic beams and hyperpulses. It was not a war. It was a message. Back on Juno 7, Daehyun stared at the sky as the Velari ships above began to fall, burning, screaming, breaking into ash. The aliens in the colony tried to retreat, shouting orders, running for their cones. But their words were lost in the roar of Earth's anger. One of the Velari soldiers turned to Daehyun. "What are you people?" Daehyun, bloody and bruised, stood up slowly. He looked at the Velari and then at the sky, where ships with the Earth flag flew in silent power. He said only one word: human. The Velari Empire did not laugh anymore. They had mocked the name, mocked the species. Called them weak, slow, scared. But when Earth responded, they did not send one ship or one army. They sent everything. Not because they wanted glory, not because they wanted war, but because someone hurt their own. And for humans, that was enough. When Daehyun met Commander Sujin on the dust-covered remains of the landing field, he saluted with shaky hands. "I'm not a soldier," he said, "just an engineer." She smiled gently and replied, "That's what scares them the most." Because it wasn't only Earth soldiers that fought. It was Earth's people, mothers, teachers, builders, coders, farmers, engineers, people who once sang songs under blue skies, people who, when pushed too far, didn't just fight back, broke the sky. And somewhere deep in the shattered fleet of the Velari, a final message echoed from a panicked alien officer before his screen went dark. They call themselves human. Don't laugh again. Just run. The Velari ships never saw it coming. They stood above the human colony Juno 7, proud and relaxed. Some aliens even laughed as they watched the burning buildings below. They had done this before, many times, to other worlds, other races. And every time, no one dared to fight back. But this time, they made a mistake. This time, they touched Earth. And Earth remembered. Above the colony, the stars blinked, but not with starlight. They blinked with fire. In an instant, the sky was no longer quiet. It roared. It screamed, not with sound, but with light. Human weapons hidden in the dark came alive. Satellites, platforms, and drones rained down destruction with perfect aim. No warning. No speech. Just silence. And then fire. General Chris of the Velari Empire watched from his command ship. His screen flashed red as ship after ship vanished from the fleet. "What is happening?" he shouted. "Unknown weapons," cried his second-in-command. "They came from nowhere." Chris slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. Humans don't have this power." But the truth stared back at him. His proud ships were falling, one by one. His strongest units, his shielded cores, they were all gone. And Earth had not even shown its full hand. On Earth, in the mountain base under Mount Baekdu, Commander Sujin stood calmly. The room around her was full of officers watching battle. Reports. She gave no long speech. No anger, just clear words. Continue controlled barrage. No civilian targets. Beside her, Ha-eun watched the data. All enemy weapons disabled. No shots fired back. Sujin nodded. Then end it soon. Because this was not war for glory. This was not revenge. This was justice. Down on the ground, Daehyun stood near the broken wall of a school. He had stayed alive. He had protected others. But he had also seen too much. The noise in the sky stopped. The ships above fell quiet. A small boy beside him looked up. Did we win? Daehyun didn't answer right away. He saw human ships flying in. Silent, strong, controlled. They didn't shoot more than needed. They didn't chase the ones that fled. Yes, Daehyun finally said, we did. But inside, he felt no pride. Only the heavy weight of everything. That had happened. 1 week later, in the center of the Galactic Tribunal, leaders of many alien races gathered. They had watched the footage. The battle above Juno 7. The silent barrage. The power behind Earth's calm face. They had mocked humans for years. Called them emotional, weak, soft. Now, not one dared say the word human with a smile. From the back of the room, a tall human diplomat walked forward. His voice was calm. Earth does not seek war. We do not rule. We do not threaten. But we protect our own. If you come again with fire, you will meet ours. Silence followed. No one argued, because the message had already been written in the stars. Back on Juno 7, the colony began to rebuild. The damage was deep. Families had lost homes. Some had lost loved ones. But the spirit of the people was still alive. Daehyun helped carry supplies. He repaired broken machines. He didn't wear a uniform. He was not a soldier. But to many on the colony, he was a hero. One morning, a shuttle landed beside the new comms tower. The door opened, and Ha-eun stepped out. She smiled at Daehyun. I came to see the man who made the galaxy listen. Daehyun laughed softly. All I did was send a message. Ha-eun looked around at the rebuilt homes, the children playing again, the flags waving in the soft wind. Sometimes, she said, a message is more powerful than a weapon. They worked side by side for weeks. Ha-eun helped rebuild the satellite. Defense. Daehyun rewired the colony's energy grid. They created better alerts, stronger shields, and faster response systems. So no one would ever be left alone again. They didn't speak much about the battle or the war. They just worked. And slowly, smiles returned to the colony. Far away, in dark corners of the galaxy, the Velari Empire licked its wounds. They called back their fleets, redrew their maps, stopped their invasions. And every time the word Earth appeared on their star charts, they paused. Because now, the name human was no longer strange. It was a warning. Children in schools across colonies read new history. Books. One page always made them stop. It showed a picture of Juno 7. Below, it were the words. They laughed at the name. But the name held fire. And when the fire came, it burned through stars. On a quiet evening, Daehyun sat beside Ha-eun on a metal bench, looking at the stars. The colony had power again. Clean water. Safe roads. Music in the streets. Do you think they'll come back? Daehyun asked. Ha-eun shook her head. Not for a long time. And if they do, they'll be careful. He nodded. I still hear the silence sometimes, before the sky lit up. It was the loudest silence I've ever felt. She looked at him. That silence saved lives. He smiled. Next time, I hope our silence is filled with songs. She laughed gently. Let's build that kind of world. They did. Years later, Daehyun and Ha-eun led a new program training young builders, engineers, and signal officers, not to make weapons, but to prepare for peace, because humans had learned something important. Yes, they could destroy, but they were strongest when they protected, when they built, when they stood together. In the end, the name human became more than a word. It became a memory, a moment, a lesson burned into the stars. And when new empires rose, When power shifted, the story of Juno 7 was always told, not as a warning, but as a truth. Do not mistake quiet for weakness. Do not push the kind too far, because when the humans stand, the galaxy sits down.